Fable 5 is finally available again, and honestly, it's crazy good. It took my landing page to the next level, and the surprising part is that I didn't even need to use a super detailed prompt. Most of what you're about to see was built in just a few hours. So in this video, I want to show you the workflow I used to create this premium cinematic landing page. So let's begin. First, I want to quickly mention that I built this landing page using Claude Code with the Fable 5 model. I started by giving it an existing HTML file. This file was already a cinematic scrolling landing page about architecture, so the goal was not to completely start from zero. I asked Claude Code to analyze the page first, understand the structure, the section, the motion, the overall feeling, and then help me create something new from that direction. I wanted something similar in terms of quality and scrolling experience, but I didn't want to just copy and paste the same idea. I wanted to explore a new concept, new interaction, new animation, new parallax effects, and maybe some new card effects connected to the scroll. For the images, I told it to use Unsplash placeholders for now, because at this stage, I'm not worried about the final visual yet. I just wanted to see if the concept, structure, and motion direction are strong. So after analyzing the landing page, Claude Code proposed 4 different topics that could work well for a cinematic scrolling experience. From there, all I had to do was pick the one I liked the most. So I decided to go with this concept called ATLAS BRUT, Concrete Monuments Field Guide. And this is where Fable 5 really surprised me. After I selected the concept, Claude Code became very proactive. I didn't even have time to give more instruction. It just started building the first iteration on its own. So just like that, without me doing much, I already had a strong first version. But before I show you the result of this first iteration, let me quickly show you the reference landing page I started from. So this HTML file was a previous cinematic scrolling landing page that I built earlier using Claude Code with the Opus 4.8 model. That one started from a structure prompt. I gave it a clear direction, a view section, and the motion stack I wanted to use: Linus, GSAP, scroll trigger, and split text. The first result was already strong because it understood the kind of experience I was trying to build. From there, I continued iterating on top of that foundation. I asked it to make the page feel more complete, add new section, and connect the whole experience together. So this became the second iteration. At this point, I still hadn't done any manual edits. It was mostly Claude Code improving the existing version based on a clear creative direction. That's one thing I really like about this workflow. When you give Claude Code a strong design context and a clear direction, it becomes really good at improving an existing version instead of just generating random changes. So once I had a strong and complete landing page, the next step was the polish phase. This is where I fix the small detail, adjust the spacing, improve the rhythm, replace the placeholder images, and make sure every section feels like it belongs to the same world. And this is the final version that I published inside Aura. As you can see, everything from top to bottom feels consistent. Typography, the motion, the image direction, the section, the pacing, it all feels like it's part of the same DNA. And I think that's what's made a landing page feel premium, clean, and professional. So this is the file I'm referring to. And when the page is ready, I simply click export and download the HTML. Also, just a quick note, I'll share this HTML file for free in the description, so you can just use it as a blueprint to build your own cinematic landing page. All you really have to do is upload it into the AI tool of your choice, ask it to analyze it, understand the flow behind it, and then build from there. From that point, you can remix it however you want. You can adapt the section, switch the theme completely, turn it into a creative portfolio, a product story, a studio site, whatever direction you want to take. So with one simple file, you already have a really strong starting point. Now let's look at the first iteration of the landing page. Honestly, this already looks really premium and professional. And I know a lot of people wouldn't believe me if I told them this came from basically a single message where I just asked it to create a new theme. What's crazy is how it decided so many things on its own. The color palette, the font pairing, even the overall brutalist feel of the site. And everything feels well stitched together. That's where using a strong reference becomes so powerful. You're giving the AI a clear direction to follow, and that helps it stay on the right path and produce much stronger results. So instead of always starting from scratch and overthinking the perfect prompt, you can start from a solid blueprint and just build something really strong from there. So after seeing that first iteration, I was already impressed. So the next thing I wanted to do was ask Claude Code to create a second version, something more complete, more refined, and push closer to that premium, almost award-winning website feel. So I think the first iteration had around 7 sections. So I asked it what else we could add to make it feel like a full landing page. It thought for a bit, then proposed 4 additional sections, and the recommendation was actually to use all 4. So I trusted Claude, picked the option to include all 4, and once again, without me needing to explain every detail, it just started building them. After that, it gave me a summary of the new section, which brought the landing page to a total of 11 sections. So now we had the route, dispatches, press, and the volume added to the experience. And at that point, I was really curious to see how much stronger this second iteration would feel compared to the first one. Alright, so the first thing you see isn't even the page, it's the loader. The title kind of decodes itself into the screen, almost like an old transmission coming through, and there's this little coordinate counter ticking up beside it. Then the screen splits open, 2 panels slide apart like curtains, and you're in. And boom, the title comes in out of focus, all soft and blurry, and then suddenly snaps into sharpness, like a camera lens pulling focus. Really subtle, but really premium. And then you start noticing all the little details around it. The cursor becomes this tiny crosshair with live coordinates following you around the screen. On the left side, there's a thin latitude line tracking how deep you are into the page as you scroll. And up in the header, you got a live clock, a sound toggle, and a pre-order button. Then, as you scroll down, this short intro slides up line by line, basically explaining how to read the project. Every monument gets approached the same way, from a distance until the concrete fills the frame. And that's exactly what happens next. So here's the first monument, and honestly, this might be my favorite effects on the whole page. It starts as a small frame photo sitting in the center of the screen, and as you scroll, the frame just keeps opening and opening until the building completely takes over the viewport. And right when it reaches full screen, the name and all the details slide in from the bottom. The whole thing is in black and white. And then it does that 2 more times. First with Habitat 67 in Montreal, those iconic stacked concrete boxes. Then with Buzz Lutza, I'm not sure if I pronounce it correctly. So this is an abandoned concrete saucer sitting on a mountaintop in Bulgaria. And one nice detail here is the background mood. It shifts slightly from chapter to chapter, warming up a bit, cooling down a bit, depending on where you are. Very subtle, but it adds a lot. Then the page zooms out. This section is the route. Basically, the whole expedition shown on one screen. There's an orange line that literally draws itself across the grid as you scroll, and every time it reaches a monument, that point lights up with its name. And down the corner, the leg counter and total kilometers keep ticking upward the whole time. 7 stops over 14,000 kilometers, all drawn in one continuous line. Next up is the ledger. This is where every monument in the collection gets filled like an index. When you hover over a name, everything else fades black. The active title slides over in orange, and then a photo wipes down into the plate on the right. Underneath, the coordinates retype themselves again. Then you get this strip of unfilled frames drifting by, almost like a contact sheet from a dark room. And this part is fun because it reacts to your movement. If you scroll fast, it speeds up and warps a little. If you reverse direction, it follows. And when you stop, it slowly settles back into that calm drift again. Then we get into dispatches, basically field notes from the row. These stack like actual papers. Each new card slides up and locks on top of the previous one, while the other ones sink back into the pile. There are 3 dispatches total, each one feeling like a report sent from a different part of the trip. Then there's a quick credibility section with press. You've got quotes rotating through automatically, and then we get to the reason the whole page exists. The book. It sits there as an actual 3D object, and as you scroll, it settles into place while the spec sheet builds itself beside it. And then comes the nice little moment. The counter rolls like an odometer and lands on 217 copies remaining. And right there is the pre-order button. Hover over it and the border literally draws itself around the label. Small detail, but it feels really good. Then near the end, you get one final field note rising up over this huge ghost outline of the word brut in the background. Then there's one final call to action, own the whole record, with this giant ghost word mark sitting behind it. And that's the page. From top to bottom, it feels like one continuous piece. So now, at this point, I'm satisfied with the full structure of the landing page. I don't want to redesign it anymore, and I'm not trying to change the concept. Now we're just in polish mode. This is where I go through the page, look for small bugs, and anything that breaks the premium feeling. And here's a few things I noticed along the way. So the first thing I fixed was the field notes section, the stacking cards. In the first version, it looked cool, but if you watch closely, something fell a bit off. When a card locked into place, it would flash dark for a second before fading back in. And the cards didn't really behave like a clean pile. The first one kept drifting around while you scroll, so the whole stack felt a bit unstable. So I just described the issue to Claude Code in plain words. I basically said the card blinks dark and dispatch 03 keeps moving, and that's it. And after the fix, it behaved exactly how I had imagined it. Once a card locks in, it stays there. The next issue was in the book section. This one had a really annoying glitch. When you scroll into the section, the whole thing would kind of jump into position. It didn't feel like a smooth landing. It felt like a hard skip. And on the way out, same thing. It would release too early and everything below looked slightly shifted. It turns out the section was just a bit taller than the screen, so when the page tried to pin it in place, it was grabbing the section at the wrong moment. Once that was fixed, now it glides in, locks perfectly, and then it releases into the next section like nothing happened. Then I looked at the epilogue. In the first version, the closing line just lit up onto the screen, and it was fine, nothing was broken. But for the most emotional line on this page, it felt a bit too plain. So I asked something more premium, and this is what we landed on. The entire sentence starts as a blur, almost like ghost words sitting in the background. Then as you scroll, a wave of focus travels through the line, word by word, until the final phrase resolves in orange. So you're literally reading the sentence by scrolling. And since the line is about concrete waiting to be read, that detail makes the whole thing feel intentional. Then I noticed something about the photos. Every single image on the page had this black and white treatment. So I asked a simple question: should a page like this even use color photography? And the answer was actually really smart. Keep black and white as the base because it makes all these different stock photos feel like they belong to the same archive, but use color as a reward. So now in the monument chapters, the photo starts in black and white, and the moment it becomes full screen, it blooms into color. It feels like the monument comes alive when you finally arrive. Same idea in the index. When you hover over a monument name, the photo wipes in, but this time in color. Everywhere else stays monochrome, so color only appears when you earned it. Then came the route map. I love the concept, but the first version felt a bit random. The line was too curvy, the labels were lining up at weird moments, and you could actually scroll past the section before the route even finished drawing. So we just enhance it. Now the lines travels in clean straight lines. It moves from corner to corner across the whole grid. There's a small pulsing marker riding the tip of the line as it draws. And the last small touch was in the hero. In the first version, the big ATLAS BRUT title did this nice focus snap when the page opened, and then it just stayed there. It looked good, but it felt a bit static. So we gave it a subtle pulse. Now the small orange cross does a quick quarter turn every few seconds, almost like an instrument calibrating. And every now and then, one random letter dims out for a split second and comes back, like the signal drops just for a moment. It's a tiny detail. Most people probably won't notice it, but that's the point. Those tiny details are what make the difference between a static poster and a page that feels alive. Before we conclude this video, I want to show you one more way to create the same kind of landing page. But this time, instead of using Claude Code, I wanted to test another approach. Since I already had the final layout, I broke down the entire build section by section into detailed prompts. So the first prompt is more like the main structure of the landing page, how the page should behave, the overall experience, the hero section, and all the technical ingredients that needs to be included. Things like Linux, GSAP, scroll trigger, split text, cinematic scrolling, pin sections, smooth transition, and all the little motion details that make the page feel premium. So for this experiment, I simply copied each prompt and pasted it directly inside Aura using Fable 5. And after the first main prompt, I continued section by section using the specific detailed prompt for each page of the page. So this is also a good way to see what a detailed prompt can look like. Next time you want to prompt better and get stronger results, you can follow a similar structure. Start with the global direction first, then define the behavior of each section, then describe the interaction, the layout, the mood, and how everything should connect through the scroll. For this test, the goal was not to polish everything at the end. I just wanted to prompt all the sections one by one, then look at the first iteration and see how close we could get. And here is the result. And as you can see, even though we use separate detailed prompt, Aura with Fable 5 was still able to create a landing page that feels very close to the one made with Claude Code. It keeps the same vibe, the same brutalist direction, the same cinematic feeling, and even a lot of the same transition ideas between sections. And for a first pass, this is pretty good. You can recognize the same type of interaction from the original landing page, the way the sections transition, the way the visual open up, the way the page feels like one long guided experience. Of course, there are still a few bugs along the way, but that was expected. Every time you generate a complete foundation like this, there's always a polished phase after. That's where you fix the spacing and all the small issues and anything that feels slightly off. But for this part of the video, we're going to skip the polish phase. The goal here was simply to show that with a well-structured prompt, you can also generate a really strong version directly inside the AI builder of your choice. So that brings us to the end of the video. And as you saw through the whole process, I was able to create this premium cinematic scrolling experience from a simple reference file. Not from starting completely from scratch, not from writing the perfect prompt in one shot, but by giving the AI a strong blueprint, letting it analyze the structure, and then guiding it through the concept, the first version, the full version, and finally the polished phase. So everything you saw in this video will be shared: the original reference file, the final HTML of this landing page, and the full breakdown of all the detailed prompts. You can find everything at the top of the description. I'll include a download link there. So now you have a strong starting point too. You can take the same blueprint, upload it to the AI tool of your choice, remix the theme, change the section, adapt the visual, and build your own cinematic landing page from there. So I hope this workflow breakdown was useful to you. And if it was, leave your mark, and I'll see you in the next video.